I appreciate what you said, AP. Um, I do, and I agree with you for the most part. However, I think sometimes there are certain situations in this type of dynamic, it's so important to go case by case, right? Because you can have honesty and integrity and still be the type of man who thinks that your paycheck is all that you need to cover your manhood. And as we know, most households require two paychecks. So there are so many circumstances where this woman is also working a full time job and still takes 100% of the household duties, right? That man is not taking care of the kids, he's not doing anything, right? And so it's really difficult to tell someone, a woman in that scenario, that she can't do better by herself because when she leaves, she has one less person to take care of. They're not
You
actually contributing anything other than finances. I'm not advocating for people splitting up, right? All I'm saying is that that man can be honest about that. He can have integrity behind that, and it still not be enough to make a home work. He's not leading the household. He's using his paycheck to substitute his duties, right? So it can be non-physical, it can be non-verbal. He can be honest about it. He can be transparent about it, and it's still not work.
okay? I agree with you. Because what I thought we were talking about was the women's side. Y'all already know how I feel about a lazy, no good, raggedy ass man.
Oh yeah, so
Y'all already know how I feel about that. But I
he's
thought we
correct.
were kind of focusing
Staying
in
with
on the
with the
females
woman.
at the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So some of the things you're right. If a woman's being selfish and she's just getting rid of a man because I don't like him no more, or I think I could do better, then I do believe that that is a situation in which she is wrong. Like she should not get rid of her husband because of you know.
So one more thing.
I
Sorry. I did want to kind of circle back to your comment earlier. I think to the original comment that started this conversation about like blaming single mothers, right? There's nobody else to blame because the single mother is the only person there. If we had families, we had a man raising these type of children, the man would then receive the blame, right? But because we don't have families anymore, the only person that is to blame is the person who's actually there raising the children. And I have compassion for the women who are doing their best. However, there just isn't anybody else there to talk about because there's nobody else doing the job. You can blame the C-suite in a like corporate organization, right? But if it's a small organization and there's only a CEO, you can't split the blame.
So, in my opinion, I think for both people, the threshold is when 51% of your decisions are based around your happiness as opposed to the child at the bare minimum. When you've put yourself above your family, then at that point you become a bad father or a bad mother. And I think that's all encompassing because it's a lot of sacrifices that you got to make on behalf of others. And if you've chosen to not make those sacrifices for your happiness, at that point you've become a bad parent, whatever that may be. If it's I want a better car, so I'm gonna work more hours instead of knowing my child needs behavioral lessons that they haven't been taught, and I need to put more work in with them. But instead of doing that, I'm going to prioritize making more money so we can just be in a better financial position, and you allow that child to suffer based off of your need to want to ball and flex or be looked at in a certain way. You've become a bad parent at that point. If you don't like the way a relationship is going as far as just the communication that you and the person you're dating have or you're married to have, and you feel like, oh, I'm just not happy, but the kids are. In my personal opinion, when you place your happiness over the kids, I think at that point you can become a bad parent. If you prioritize now, if you never keep your word and you consistently tell, like, so that word thing is real important because when a parent tell you something as a child, you want to hold them to it, whether it be, oh, I'm gonna come pick you up on the weekend. As a kid, you would be in the hallway waiting on the parent the entire weekend, getting your heart broke every 5 to 3 minutes. just looking out the window. Every car passed by you. Oh, is that my mom? Is that my dad? And I don't think people realize how the weight that your words have on your kids. I think, yeah. So if you know you can't do something, please don't tell these kids they can. Please don't tell the kids you're gonna show up. Please don't promise them nothing.
I know
Just keep it to yourself.
Please don't. Psychologically, that's. Let me ask you a question real fast, Marcus. It was something that you said. How does one? Okay, so normally there will be two people in the household. Two. So we sit here and say, today in today's society, it takes two people to hold down a household. She's gonna have to work, right? Where do we draw the line from? Okay, when you're with a man, it's going to take two incomes in the household to bring in a woman who's a single mom having to work overtime or having to prioritize income because it's just her, so that the kids can go to a better school, live in a better neighborhood. You don't have to worry about people saying, "Oh, you just a single mom on welfare." Like, where do we draw the line with that?
I'd rather be a single mom on welfare that did what my kids needed than somebody that balled out and didn't get them what they needed. I don't think finance dictates that. So if you put that 50, when you crossed over from what the child actually needed to when you wanted to live in luxury, that's 51% on the other side, I feel like.
So you don't. So we looked at a video a couple of months back, and the video was saying that your environment plays a big role on the outcome of your children. So a lot of women feel that way. If I get my kid out of a certain environment, if I can maintain a certain lifestyle, so my kid can go to a better school, so my kid can be around kids who, they'll think like these kids for the success of my child. What do you think about that? Because a person in poverty probably is going to be in an environment that is not going to be to
their best
absolutely
best results. Remember, me and Inaz disagreed on that video. That was the one we disagreed on, and I think we had hit it from two different perspectives. Mine was one, I witnessed because I had a chance to be around kids who parents gave them everything but time, and I had a chance to be around kids who parents didn't give them anything, like, at all. They wasn't even there, and what I found was the consistency between the two. And then and also around people who was in poverty, but their parents gave, like, both parents was there and gave them time. And what I found through what I was observing is that two parents time is better than two parents money. So that would be my mindset. But for one parent, you have to but for one parent, you have to get them the necessities. And I think what the necessities look like vary. Because, all right, so if I knew I would never be able to be around my child, but I could get them in the Beverly Hills, but I never would be able as a single person working, I would rather move to Iowa and split that in half, lower my cost of living so I could still get them whatever I needed on a necessity basis. And then, and you can move to Beverly Hills when they old enough. Like, when they old enough that you didn't got them on their head. My grandfather used to always say this. He called me Wesley. He'd be like, Wesley, a bird got enough sense to build a nest before he lay an egg. So whatever that nest is, that's the important thing. It don't have to be a high-rise nest. It just needs to be a nest where you can securely have these kids safely.
Yeah, and we want to. Okay, go ahead.
So in terms of the environment, like you said, the environment has a big influence. But I think when we're talking about environment in that regard, we're looking at just the area that they live in. But the environment in the home, to me, has the biggest impact. Mm-hmm. So I've told y'all before that we grew up in the hood. We was in the hood, but we was not of the hood, because what was going on inside our house was totally opposite than what we saw outside of our house. So, that in-home environment, I think, will definitely have a much greater impact than the outside environment. So it is possible, and I've seen it where you have kids that grew up in the hood, but they have great manners, they're respectful, they do the right thing. So they're not necessarily a reflection of the outside environment that they grew up in, but more so a reflection of the environment that was created in the home.
Well, I think that has a lot to do too with the village that's around it. A lot of people have their grandparents, they have their mom, they have their dad, they have lots of people who are raising them. You understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about the woman who is single. She has no husband. She does not have, it's just her in the household. She's got to go to work. Sometimes them people work extra hours, even in the hood. So it's going to be times when she's not away. So what I'm saying to you is, would you rather your kid be in a safe neighborhood with you not being there than be in some place? Because you're not going to be there. Because even if you have to work at Walmart all day long, it still may not be enough because you're still going to have to get extra hours, right? It's not like your hours are cut. You still got to put in the work, right?
So what do you think is different with doing that now with what parents did back in the day when we were latchkey kids? Like they were working, they were all day.
Yeah, I think the difference between when we were kids was there was a village. There was a neighbor who gonna tell on you, you know, if something went down. Like my mom had eyes and she wasn't even there. My mom knew what went on in the house and she was nowhere to be found. You know why? Because my neighbor told her, this neighbor, that neighbor, my grandmother was there, my granddad was there. All these people played a role in the raising of your children. That's no more. People mind their own business. Some people even know who their neighbors are.